we're living in a period of history where things are changing so quickly that my imagination can keep up. By default in this industry, which is like, what do they do? Can I do the same?
Yeah.
You go to the store and you have hundreds of games that are exactly the same. And then you look at the strategy of the teams and they are all the same. And then you look at the creatives and they are all the same.
I want to say special thanks for you because this episode is dedicated to March 8th, the International Women's Day. And the last year I made the first episode of my podcast and I invited Hint. And I started my podcast on March 8th. And I'm so happy to continue it. And thank you for the support. And thank you, Maria, for being one more amazing female on my podcast that will shine bright on this special day. Welcome to GameBiz Heroes. And today I'm joined by Maria, the head of user acquisition at Funcraft and also founder of Hubapps, where she helps studios scale mobile games through data-driven UA, performance marketing, and high-impact creative strategies. So, Maria, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here too.
Thank you. And I have a first question for you. So, user acquisition is constantly evolving. So, what's the biggest misconception about mobile UA today that most studios still fall for?
I think maybe not most part of the studios, but many studios do, which they think they can fix a game with UA. And this is also my perspective because I'm on the UA side, and there's always this conflict in the team between product side, UA side, and what is expected. But when you launch a game and the metrics are very bad, you could really try with UA. You will never scale.
And why do you think it's like this?
I think because in the last year, so before this disclosure is my age, but I remember many years ago when we will do UA, you will see like UA performance many times were worse than organic performance. But now we see that with optimizations, with a lot of work, with the right creatives, we're able to find that niche audience that really like our game. And you see retention uplift compared to organic retention, and you see many metrics that are even better. But if your game has not been built on a way that retention is going to last for a long time, if the market fit is not correct, so the CPI is very high, if the way the game works, it doesn't work, then doesn't matter how much better your UA is going to be, that it's gonna fail. Scalability is not going to be possible because your CPI is going to be increasing over and over the higher your budgets are.
And what's one trend in mobile game growth or user behavior that everyone is talking about, but very few companies actually prepared for in 2026?
I think in the last 2 years, we've been hearing a lot about AI on mobile games, on UA. And during the last year, all the conversation was about how to use UA on creative production. And we've seen many companies that have pop up in the industry that now do the analysis of the creative and the production of the creative automatically. But I still think there are a lot of things that can be done that we are not there yet in terms of
Yeah,
analysis, in terms of game development. And then if we became very creative, things that could be done that we don't even know yet. Like you try to fix to do your tasks quicker, no, to add more results to the same hours that you do per week.
yeah,
But we need to stop and think what else can be done that maybe no one is doing in anything that could speed up or improve the
exactly.
games we do.
Exactly. And also, small studios often struggle with limited user acquisition budgets. So, what may be one high impact tactic you think is underrated and utilized right now?
So with small studios, they have like this budget constraint. So some of them have this budget constraint, some others are not. Like you could be
Yeah,
a small studio, have huge amount of revenue. No, I
yeah,
think what is a small studio? A small studio is somebody that doesn't have UA funding, or a small studio is somebody that has a small team. So we have these
Yeah.
two categories, right? There are small studios that are small just because they found a way of working that they don't need to scale that much in people because their processes are very lean. So they are profitable. They have a very healthy cash flow. And then they are still considered small, but their revenue is much better than maybe bigger ones.
Yeah.
And when the problem is not that the studio is small, but the problem is that the studio doesn't have cash flow, then I think it's nice to take the opportunity of all these rewarded networks. You know, what they
Mm-hmm.
brought, that they usually break even super early, right? So they cannot reward the users more than day 60 or more than day 30, some of them. So then this is a nice opportunity to improve your cash flow if your regular break even date with non-instant partners is 9 months or a year. So then you have like this, okay, I might get some money coming in earlier that could
Yeah.
help you scale further.
And if we're talking about studios who has just small teams, not so many people on the teams.
When the problem is the capacity of the team more than the cash flow, then what you need to revise is your processes. Because I think small studios, we tend to look up to big studios trying to think how they do it, what can we copy, right? But this is a reflection I did like recently, because by default in this industry, we just like, what do they do? Can I do the same?
Yeah.
But these big studios became big years ago when the
Yeah.
industry was very different, when the competition was completely different and the tools we had also were different. So maybe we don't need to copy the processes. When you are small, you need less processes, more lean, more inter-team communication. You all need to, the startup philosophy, you need to help each other and have multiple
Yeah.
hats and work with the tools that we have now. I've worked in, or I've consulted big teams with very big processes and a lot of steps and meetings that have to be done to fix something that when I've worked in other teams, that was fixed in a conversation between two people in a chat.
Yeah.
So we need to stop comparing when a new studio recently launched a studio with a studio that is huge and has been launched 8, 9 years ago.
Just out of the curiosity, what's the most comfortable environment for you personally to work in a smaller team with a quick processes, not so many processes maybe, but maybe tighter budgets, or to be part of the big working machine with a lot of processes, steps, people to talk with? What's your favorite environment to be in?
I do like small, not small teams, but teams that work very lean. I am
Mm-hmm.
also a person that I don't enjoy being micromanaged and I don't enjoy
Mm-hmm.
micromanaging when I'm the lead.
Yeah.
So when you have a lot of papers to fill and processes to do, sometimes I get very frustrated because things are not moving forward and because my brain
Got
is not,
distracted to other things.
yeah, is
Yeah.
not focused on fill up this report or do this step by step. Yeah, I think I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy more the teams that are able to work well in a bit more chaotic environment.
Yeah, yeah. And in your experience also, what's the hard truth about marketing and monetization in mobile games that most teams avoid saying out loud?
I think I have two thoughts about it. One is that we tend to think or we sell ourselves as if mobile gaming was still a very creative industry, creative in the sense of artistic and also in the sense of we're making something new, right? From a solution to a design. But big part of this market, we just copy,
Yeah,
like you go to the store and you have hundreds of games that are exactly the same. And then you look at the strategy of the teams and they are all the same. And then you
yeah.
look at the creatives and they are all the same. But somehow we keep selling ourselves like gaming is
So we're just
so
all good
artistic.
sales managers.
Yeah, it's more optimizing than creating, uh,
But that's true, yeah. Mm.
which I think is also a problem, right? It's like then you suddenly see a game that is completely new and fresh and they work. Many times they just work.
Exactly. Yeah. I got frustrated sometimes when I want to test or want to play some new games and I open it and it looks exactly as the game that I know already exists. Even the
Yeah.
colors, the design, everything is the same. And I even was one time I was so frustrated, I even opened the app store and I checked who made this game because I was like, I know that other studio made this game and I know they're not connected, but why it looks exactly the same. So yeah, I experienced it myself. If we have a new trend, new game in a month or in a weeks, we have hundreds of similar games also on the market. So that's totally true.
It makes
And
sense because there are so many uses and people needs to eat. And if it worked once,
yeah,
why it's
of
not gonna work
course.
7 times?
Exactly. And you told me that there are two things that you think about this. Like what's the hard truth about marketing and monetization in games that most teams avoid saying out loud. So what's where the second one?
I think that it's we need a change in the industry,
Mm,
and uh, we need to think more. Like I so often see myself running with such a speed, working with do, and then I sometimes complain that I don't have time to think because there are
mm,
many things to do, and we do not value the free spots or working hours that is just like coming up with new ideas. When we
yeah.
work in such a fast pace, we don't allow ourselves to be, yeah, exploring,
And more
right? We just want to
creative
deliver.
maybe. Yeah. Agree on it. And also at Funcraft and with Hubapps, you emphasize experimentation. So how do you decide when to double down on UA campaign versus when to pivot entirely?
Well, double down is the easy part because if you have good metrics, you just push it as much as your budget allows it. If you have a
Yeah.
budget capped by company rules, the problem is when to stop trying, right?
Mm-hmm.
From a campaign to a network to a creative trend. And it depends on three things. One is what is the trend? If all the tests that you have been doing within this piece of work seems to be better and better, then you might think, yeah, I could keep trying. Then you have the second pillar, which is, do you have budget enough? Or do you have another thing you could be spending that time that it's going to be easier and more profitable? And then the third one, which is your own brain as a UA
Okay.
person. So
Yeah.
I am a person that tends to keep trying. And this has been a discussion with many bosses I had in the past, like maybe you should stop trying. So I have to find rules to myself to stop trying because my gut feeling is like if I work a little bit more, I will make it happen.
Mm.
But that's not always the truth. Then you have to go back and check. Do I have something better to do with my time? And is the trend positive or negative? How much budget I have left in my brain or in my root page to keep trying?
And also, brands and companies usually talk about growth loops and organic uplift. So maybe what's one metric or insight that user acquisition teams should be watching that they often ignore?
In my past experience, what I've seen is that the people look at retention during MVP, during soft launch, but then they forget about retention metrics when they run campaigns on scale or when they do creative A/B testing. This is,
Mm-hmm.
of course, a generalization. There are teams that they don't do that, but many teams they just like focus on this. This can be it's valid also for consumer apps. They focus on the CPE or they focus on the ROAS, and then you might see ROAS suddenly dropping and you didn't predict it properly.
Mm-hmm.
That would be one. And then I've seen very good results working when you do incrementality testing, but
Mm-hmm.
with teams with not many resources, that's hard to do. Many times where you can use a tool, but that tool might make you analyze your data twice, first with that tool, then with your report, then with your prediction. So it's becomes a lot of work. So the best is when you have a huge data team and they just tell you, like, I did this analysis, this is the right choice.
And what's, on your opinion, what's the maybe 10 or 5 the most important metrics, indicators to always check, always track from your perspective?
Obviously, ROAS, that's number one. Retention, to confirm that that ROAS is going to last. CPI also, that's a good metric for market fit. IPM, to see if your creatives are still kicking or you should speed up your finding a new winner. Multipliers, also as a way to see if the long-term prediction is correct. Yeah, that would be those are my headaches.
And let's imagine that now is 2027. So fast forward to 2027. What shift in mobile growth or user acquisition strategy would make you say that this was the turning point for game marketing this year?
I find this so difficult, Melania. So if we look back and we say how many things have changed that had broken the way we were doing
Yeah.
marketing before, right? Or you have
In any
iOS 14,
industries. Yeah.
right? Then the legal regulations that made like
Oh,
it was
yeah.
so easy to target before, and now you're like, how do I do this? We talk about signaling, we talk about scan. 2 years ago, or no, I mean 5 years ago, we started with rewarded, and now it's like just a completely common vertical, which help a lot all the affiliates that we used 10 years ago, because 10 years
Yeah.
ago, we were promoting Candy Crush in affiliate networks. And I tried to predict, because somebody asked me this also like a couple of months ago. What do you think is going to be the trend in 2027? We're living in a period of history where things are changing so quickly that my imagination can keep up. So I think big changes. Who is going to take over Uplovin's kingdom, right? They are so big. They are doing so good. What's going to be the next traffic source that now looks like not so important that might become like a big ones? When I look at the amount of ads that now I have on all my streaming paid platforms, which pisses me off. And I say, look at it, CTV, it's going to be the next big thing. I cannot predict it. I'm just trying to catch up with the things that already changed 2 months ago.
Yeah. But what may be one thing that you want to see that will help user acquisition teams?
I would like to find a new way of tracking, because we've been
Mm-hmm.
tracking installs the same way for a long time, that will help us get more data point, more trusted data points. I would like to see a shift on yeah, tracking. I would like to have more certainty about what we are tracking, because sometimes we see
Mm-hmm.
discrepancies and it's such a headache. And I would like to see like new verticals also, just not on the technical side, but like on the game side, new things, not always what you said, the same games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
had this.
that's very interesting because some people also tell me that they want to see new genres or totally new games. So, yeah.
We had this panel in January in London with Claire Hossein organized this gathering, and Sophie and Claire, they were talking about, in Simonetta from a game house, they were talking about how there is a vast space for a different type of apps, focus on a different type of person, but maybe we don't have these users working on making games. The target user should be also in the game industry. The game industry, we have been the same for a long time also. And this was very focused on female games, like besides puzzle and match three games. What else can be
Mm-hmm.
done?
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to change the way you think about them.
Of course. And the last question, I'm so curious. Why are you in this industry? Why are you, after so many years, why are you still in this industry? Why you love this or just doing it and not love this?
Yeah.
Yeah, just curious to hear your perspective, because I get that maybe that's also interesting because the things are always changing and you need to always adapt. So it's not that you work the same as 10 years or 5 years or 2 months ago. You always need to adapt. So that's kind of interesting for a person to always change and not see the same metrics, the same reports, and the same strategies all the time. But why
Mhm.
mobile games?
Why mobile games? I like games, do
Yeah.
like games. I feel somebody said recently females don't call themselves gamers because we just play different, but this resonated a lot with me. I've always
Mm.
played games, but I didn't play the same games or the same intensity of didn't spend the same amount of time on them as my male counterpart. So
But I think it doesn't define you as not a gamer. I mean,
I know this is like I the way I picture a gamer has a different chair,
oh,
you
that's
know.
just a very biased thing that we have in our
Exactly.
heads. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So I do like games. I really like the industry because one thing is environment. I feel it's a very safe environment for me to work in. Not very competitive. It is competitive, but you don't feel it in these conventions. You talk with your competition in a very relaxed way, and
yeah.
we share a lot of data and we help each other. I've learned this last year actually that
Mm-hmm.
yes, that I could, that way of playing is also playing.
Of course, of course.
But
We
also
just we're just so busy we don't have time to play
yeah,
full
and
time. I don't know.
I have this personality that loves a lot of things, so I cannot dedicate all my time to just one. But that doesn't mean
Of
that I like
course,
less.
of course.
But then this
Yeah,
industry, I
I
find
totally
that
get you.
I think it's a very safe environment. It's
Mm-hmm.
very healthy. I've worked before joining the tech side. I worked in arts and I work
Mm.
in media, and the environment was different. And the first time I worked on a mobile company, it felt so refreshing. And back then we
Mm.
had to teach the people about mobile advertising. There
Yeah,
was nothing. And that was like to be there teaching what's coming. And now it's it's there already. It's not a new industry, but it still have so many new things you have to learn. And then I think I also stay because many of the people I worked with during the years have became my friends and I just like working
yeah,
with them. I don't want to switch.
yeah. That's absolutely true. I think so many people who enter this industry staying because of the people. Because
Yeah.
I see that people sometimes can change companies, but the majority of people who I know, they stay in the industry. So that's also a very good sign that we're doing something good, and just let's continue being a very safe and good industry to work in and just be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Amazing.
miss the people that left.
No worries. Maybe they'll come back. Who knows?
Maybe.
So, Maria, thank you so much for sharing all your insights today on the mobile user acquisition and growth strategies and everything that we talked with you. Also, thanks everyone who watched this episode. You will find it on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. You will find us everywhere. And also, I want to say special thanks for you because this episode is dedicated to March 8th, the International Women's Day. And the last year I made the first episode of my podcast and I invited Hint. And I started my podcast on March 8th. And I'm so happy to continue it. And thank you for the support. And thank you, Maria, for being one more amazing female on my podcast that will shine bright on this special day. So thank you so much. And yes, see you soon.
Thank you, Melanie. I'm so proud to be on the 8th March. Super good.